Welcome to the NCWLIFE Magazine. I'm Kaitlin Hetterscheidt. If you travel on 5th Street in Wenatchee, you may have noticed some splashes of color hitting the walls of one building on the Wenatchee Valley College campus. On this episode, we're meeting the illustration class responsible for the facelift of Wells Hall. Wells Hall is a building set to be demolished this year, but it won't go down before seeing some large-scale street art decorate its exterior and interior, giving students a truly unique opportunity to bring more mural art to the valley. We're going to learn more about this work and those creating it, starting with the local artist who leads the course.
My name is Marlon Peterson, and I'm an instructor here at Wenatchee Valley College. I teach the illustration class, and this quarter the illustration class has morphed into a mural painting class. It's because Wells Hall is going to get demolished, I think the end of this summer. And so we've secured permissions to paint murals all over the inside and the outside of Wells Hall.
Peterson says he moved to Wenatchee from Renton 7 years ago and began teaching. If you've seen the mural behind the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center, then you've seen his work. He teaches drawing and illustration courses at Wenatchee Valley College, bringing his experience in scientific illustration.
My background is in science illustration. I did a program in Santa Cruz, and so a lot of my formal illustration is of like insects and prehistoric creatures and botanical things and a lot of different things from the natural world. But I still have always cartooned and done lots of, kind of surreal type of illustration. I like to work in all different media, but definitely my favorite media is the bigger the better. So working on big buildings like this, it's just amazing to be able to have the largest canvas available. I did a mural arts program with the city of Tacoma about 9 years ago, and that was a great program where a lot of artists got selected to learn how to work with the city and just figure out all the steps that it takes to do big public murals in a big city like Tacoma. So that's where I really cut my teeth. And since then I've done some murals. I got a grant to do a mural in Seattle, and I've done some other commissioned murals. But it's really fun to teach students to do murals as well, because the hard part about doing murals is to get permission to work on the walls. This class, it allows students to be able to work without having to get the permissions that take so much time and effort. So it's really great that we just get to practice the craft on these walls here.
The course filled up quickly with 18 lucky students.
I did expect this kind of response because people are really hungry for street art. Wenatchee has amazing buildings, just big, perfect flat walls that hopefully I'll get to cover at some point, but we're really ripe for a lot of big mural projects. And I think students know it. Like, street art is something, the course is actually called Street Art Illustration. I called it that. But street art is something that all students know about, and if you go to a big city, you just see it everywhere. It's really embraced. I did expect a lot of students, and I was way over capacity. A lot of students couldn't do it, unfortunately. I almost ran 2 sections of it, but it was just going to be kind of, administratively difficult to do that. But yeah, there's 18 students in it, and that's much more than my illustration class.
The students in the course bring a wide range of experience. So the class got started first with projects on the interior, working with a geometric theme to get them started.
Some students were really good at that, and they really just loved working in that geometric style. And then other students, they like to illustrate anime, or they like to do actual, subjects that are living, as opposed to kind of flattish geometric things. And so you really start to see certain students really put effort and time into where their passions are. But it's always a challenge in all my illustration classes, and especially the mural class, is how do you design a class that can offer something challenging to both types of students that have not much experience in art and others that they're training to be artists.
The course has a fluid structure, assigning students work on different walls, colors, themes, whether in a small group or individually throughout the quarter. Regardless of the assignment, Peterson says he hopes this class inspires more street art throughout the Wenatchee Valley.
We've gotten a lot of positive feedback so far. People are like, why are we getting art on the walls now when the building's gonna get demolished? I wish that we could have art before that happened. And yeah, I hope that people really get to see it, and just to know that all these bare expanses of wall that you see everywhere could have art on them. And it's not even permanent. I mean, you can paint over it if people don't like it, but in the end, yeah, it's such a great atmosphere to walk around and see art when you're in a college campus or downtown or wherever. So yeah, hopefully it just leads to other things. There's a lot, I've just heard about other buildings that are gonna go on the chopping block in the next few years that I'm sure this kind of project could also be done on, like in Bajer Hall, I think. But also some of the newer buildings just have beautiful walls that, you know, hopefully the people see the quality of work that the students do and they'll seek it out. They'll ask for it rather than us begging for it. Just be able to see large-scale art. A lot of people just don't view artwork. Street art is democratizing in the sense that everybody is sort of confronted by it, everybody sees it, and a lot of people, they don't really get to appreciate art in their daily lives. You know, maybe it's just not around, you know, and they think that, oh, I've got to go into a gallery in order to see art, but when you can expose that to them and put it in public places, it just opens people's eyes up to, I don't know, just the way that other people see the world. Just seeing bright colors as opposed to just a flat wall is a beautiful thing. And it can change too. I mean, there's a lot of walls that have a beautiful mural on it and then it changes to something else later, and yeah, it's not static at all.
Outside of his work with the Wenatchee Valley College, he continues to work to bring large-scale art to the community and help local artists showcase their work.
I'm on the Parks and Arts Commission, and it's been a bit of a struggle there. You know, they have $1,000 a year for a budget for, you know, public art, and I would just hope that people can to just see the value in large-scale art and really boost the budget for something like that, because Wenatchee could use so much large art around. It would really change the entire downtown. It would change the way that they see their own city. I hope to be somebody who's also painting on walls when I find the time, hopefully this summer. You know, I've got some walls in mind that are just perfect for painting on, so. But yeah, I just hope that people come to expect and want to see art on big walls rather than it just, you know, being something small and contained in a space that it's predictable, but you really catch people off guard, and with, you know, with some big art somewhere, it's just a really cool feeling. So.
Coming up on the NCWLIFE Magazine, we talk with 2 students in the course who are working to bring their vision to the walls of Wells Hall. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Magazine. We're continuing our look at a street art illustration course at Wenatchee Valley College that's making its presence known with large murals at Wells Hall on 5th Street. We caught up with one student who shares with us her artistic passion and her experience so far in the course.
So my name is Heather Dappin, and I am in my 2nd year here at the graphic design program at Wenatchee Valley College. And I actually grew up here in Wenatchee, and I went and I got a degree over in Tacoma and studied over at University of Puget Sound. And now I've moved back and come home, and I'm doing kind of a pivot and studying here at Wenatchee Valley College. It's hard to define the artistic process because every project happens very organically and therefore in its own specific way. Sometimes you get this like God-sent idea and a specific medium is necessary for that idea. Other times you're thinking about the media and what you could do with that. Other times you're thinking maybe about an emotion you have and like how you would visually express that. I think one theme that is consistent through a lot of my work is thinking about something I'm feeling, and then I try to think how that would be visually represented. For me, it's been really rewarding to see the progress I've made in just 2 years, and even within a quarter. I was in a figure drawing class last quarter, and I was starting out pretty much drawing stick figures, and it was really awkward and embarrassing. But then by the end of the quarter, it's like, oh wow, that looks like a fleshy human. Still a lot of room for improvement, but that's always really rewarding to get to see pretty quick progress.
Heather says she's branching out of her artistic norms by physically expanding her boundaries with mural work.
So I've had Marlon for other classes before. I had him for illustration, and muraling is something I've always wanted to do my entire life. I think it's kind of, every artist has the dream to work this scale. You know, you pretty rarely get to see art this large. You're normally on 8.5 by 11, maybe 11 by 17. So to have something this scale, it really opens up what you can do. You really feel like you get to express different ideas that are not possible on paper. And I also think Wenatchee has kind of a sad mural scene at this point. Like, there are some, and they are certainly beautiful. There are just very few for how much there could be. We have so many warehouses and just empty cement walls, and you go to other cities and they're filled up with beautiful art. Places like Seattle, you know, has very blue collar, a lot of industry, and they have murals on it. But here in Wenatchee, I think we're maybe just a little behind, and so it's always been a dream of mine to come back to Wenatchee and fill art around the city. I think with muraling, the specific wall really dictates what you can do. And Marlon's been teaching us it's really cool to actually integrate parts of the wall into the mural. So if you have a window, like, what do you do with that window? Or if you have a pipe or a doorway. So I tried to not come in with too many preconceived notions and just see what spaces we were given and what would kind of work within that space.
Marlon split the class into 2 groups to get to work on the first 2 large murals. Heather got to lead her group and wanted to create a collaborative mural that gave everyone in the class the opportunity to include their own personalities.
I don't like group strife, so I wanted everyone to feel happy and involved. So the idea with this one is that each person in the class will have a little figure, and they're pretty non-representational. It's kind of abstract. Right now, people are saying they look like fingers, which is fine. But each one will get a face, and then every student in the class will have one, and they'll do their own face, and then they'll take their body, and they can put patterns on their body or decorate it however they want. So then at the end, it's kind of representing every person's style and every person's personality, and shows that we are this group of artists that have come together for this class, and we all have things to contribute. They're all talented artists, so it's pretty cool to be, you know, the leader of the project, but I can totally trust each and every person. Like, do whatever you want. Like, I know that if you're gonna do something on it, it's gonna be awesome, so take it and run with it.
With weather presenting as their greatest challenge so far, Heather says she's thankful for Marlon's work to get the class running.
He has really taken the fight with the bureaucracy to push this through. I don't think we are fully privy to how much work he's had to do to convince people this is a good idea. Like, we're not gonna mess up the building. I think a lot of people were nervous what we were gonna do to it and maybe didn't trust that we are artists. And so it's been rewarding to see people come through and be like, oh wow, we love what you're doing. So yeah, we're really grateful that he's kind of, you know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's on that end and getting everything together. And I think he's really good at just letting us express ourselves and do kind of whatever we're feeling, even if it's not his idea. Yeah, I think he's a very encouraging teacher, so we're pretty lucky.
I asked Heather her feelings about creating such large-scale art on a building set to be demolished.
It's bittersweet for sure. I don't mind too much because this is my first time really doing this stuff, so I feel lucky just that someone's willing to take a chance on us and let us do this. But once you see that they're turning out really well, then you're like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if this was around for a while? And but I'm not worried. I think all of us there will be other walls to paint on. I mean, I think art is something that anyone can do. I think there are things like athletic pursuits or maybe singing where you do have to be born with a certain amount of talent maybe to succeed at it. But I think art, it is truly about just the hours you put in, and maybe it's that 10,000 hour rule. I certainly have not put in 10,000 hours yet. I don't think I'm a natural artist by any means, but I think anyone, if they're interested and willing to just dedicate some time to it, they'll start seeing pretty quick progress.
As locals drive by or students wander through, what does Heather hope they get from the splashes of color?
I hope they see that, first of all, that Wenatchee does have an arts community. I think there are a ton of creative people in Wenatchee and a lot of creative energy, but I think at this point it's a little fractured and segmented. Everyone's kind of in their own artistic worlds, whereas some other communities, you know, there are bigger groups of artists who do things together. So I think I really want other people to look at it and see, whoa, like, art and collaboration is happening here, and if that's happened, then I can do it too if they're interested, and kind of get the ball rolling in that way.
Coming up next on the NCWLIFE Magazine, we're talking with one more student. She's making the leap from graphic design and typography to large-scale mural work. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the NCWLIFE Magazine. To close out this episode, I caught up with a student who accidentally found her way into the street art illustration class at Wenatchee Valley College. She took her craft from small form digital design work to large-scale murals.
My name's Hannah Bodley. I am a second-year student at WVC, technically third, but I'm graduating after this quarter. I'll be transferring to Western Washington University to pursue a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design. It's kind of a funny story. So it was coded as Illustration 1, so I thought I was just getting into a regular illustration class, and I'd seen all the street art posters everywhere, but I never made the connection. So I kind of stumbled into it organically, and at first I was really taken aback and kind of scared. I was expecting to be working pretty small, so this was a pretty big shock to me. But overall, I'm really happy I landed in it, and it's been a really fun challenge and working big and getting out of my comfort zone. So that's been a really, really great experience. And I mean, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of a building being knocked down, and you can just go crazy and make these huge pieces on it. So I feel really lucky.
Hannah tells us more about her personal work outside of the street art class.
I really enjoyed the geometric project we did. I'm a designer, so I work a lot in shapes and kind of abstract, a lot less realism, though I do like working in portraiture, and I'm going to be doing a portrait of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the Nigerian author. That'll be my next kind of project. I'm paired with a portrait artist on that, which is a saving grace for me because I'm not super comfortable in that department, but she's great at it. So we've got the conceptual and the structural art going on, which is awesome. But typically design, typography, I love to work in. Love working with letter forms. Anything abstract is a lot of fun for me. It's kind of my sweet spot. The funnest thing I think for me about typography is you're working with what isn't there. You kind of are breaking it down into shapes, and you're really looking at the spaces between the letters, not necessarily the forms themselves. So that is kind of an interesting process for me, working in positive, negative space. And then it makes spelling really difficult. Designers are kind of known for having really bad spelling because we stop looking at them as like tools of language. Obviously it's still communication, but you begin to look at it as more of a visual language versus verbal.
Outside of the fact that she signed up for a mural-based street art class, I asked Hannah what surprises she's faced so far.
There's very little that hasn't caught me off guard about working at this scale. It was all, I guess it's been demystified somewhat because, first when I saw street artists working, I just think, wow, it's great to just be able to go up to that wall and just go for it and just paint. And it didn't seem like an organized process to me at first, but now I'm seeing actually each step is actually quite analytical. There's a lot of pre-planning, measuring, and that I can get wrap my head around. So that's been really illuminating for me, just the process itself. I've always kind of seen myself as more digital, working in publications and print, and being able to do this has really inspired me to work bigger and maybe do some more installation type pieces, which I'm very, very excited about. Because there's a lot of typographers I follow, and they do these really wonderful, beautiful murals, and just having the tools to feel like I could potentially do this professionally is really empowering for me.
While intimidating at first, she says she found confidence with a little encouragement from the class and the campus.
When we did our individual murals and got all this really great feedback, and when we were working in the halls and all the students were walking by and just stopping, looking at it and going, wow, this is really cool, and why wasn't this here earlier? That kind of, all the insecurity about it just kind of shed away at that point, and I was just really excited that people were really appreciating the art we were putting up and really having an impact on the campus.
Hannah says Marlon brings a unique and inspiring level of experience to the class, something she's been able to find in all of her classes at Wenatchee Valley College.
He's such a master of his craft in terms of science illustration, also working at scale. And we went on a field trip to Seattle, and we actually got to see one of his pieces of the daddy long legs that you can see from the Space Needle up on one of the roofs. And it's amazing getting to work with that kind of talent and have someone advising you and kind of guiding you along in your art, and also working with these tools. It's like his expertise is unmatched. It's really great. I would just encourage everybody to try and take an art class here at the college, because the level of instruction we have is amazing for what the classes, like the cost points and everything. You're getting so much expertise. I've learned something just immense from every instructor I've had in the art program, and I encourage people to get out there and take an art class and take advantage of it while they're here.
Working on the group mural of the tardigrade, Hannah says she was stoked to be able to incorporate her typography skills.
I got assigned to typography, so I'm going to be doing some lettering here in kind of like a pixel depth font. It's going to say tardigrade tough. It was kind of our play on built Ford tough, so we decided that was kind of fun because tardigrades are kind of masters of survival and they can survive in really extreme temperatures on both ends of the spectrum, so we thought that'd be a fun thing to write on there. That's probably one of the best parts about this class is having that cross-pollination. You get all these different artists from different backgrounds and they're all working together to kind of bring the best of the project out. So it's probably one of my favorite things, working as like a group and collaborating.
Still completing the group mural, Hannah continues her planning for the portrait of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the Nigerian nonfiction writer.
I recently came across Dear EGOLA, which is kind of almost a letter to her friend about feminism. And I think it's just nice to have more visibility on campus, racially and also gender-wise, and to have these kind of figures I think is very inspiring, and it's not the thing you kind of see every day around here, so just kind of giving people something more to look at and something more to aspire to, and maybe not like the typical hero of the town or whatever you might think, just kind of globalizing and diversifying our campus.
So how does Hannah feel about working on a soon-to-be demolished building?
Yeah, we got a lot of that. People going, oh, I can't believe it's getting knocked down. Like, isn't that such a bummer? And I mean, on one hand it is, but it's also what's allowing us to do it in the first place. So I think it's more of, it's kind of wonderful. It's this transitory thing. Like, we're all going to put this thing up and knowing it's going to come down, but we're still putting our best effort in. There's something kind of poetic about that, I think. It's kind of wonderful.
Sprucing up the college campus with large areas of color and art gave Hannah a sense of accomplishment, being able to bring a little inspiration to her community.
Hopefully, I think inspiration and just bringing more joy into their day-to-day as they're walking around campus. I mean, even in the hallways, this relatively old building, it's kind of almost feels like kind of an oppressive environment to go in there and learn, and I was just thinking about how great it would be just to have something there where you're walking into your classroom and you're not only just, oh, I'm going to class, but you're kind of filled with a sense of joy as you're going to learn, and I think that really improves the learning environment, having that, you know, that intensive like creativity going into it.
Spending time with the art department at Wenatchee Valley College, Hannah says she's discovered Wenatchee's growing art scene.
Before entering into this class, Wenatchee seemed fairly like creatively inert before I took a class here, and then I found out this whole burgeoning art scene, and we've got new galleries coming out like a Collapse paired up with Radar Station, and we were getting some really cool like front of the line artists coming through, and having to be able to experience that, knowing it's there is really important, I think, for students and the community alike, so we can support the arts here and keep it growing.
That wraps it up for today's episode of the NCWLIFE Magazine. Be sure to take a drive by the Wenatchee Valley College campus on 5th Street to get an up-close look at all the work these students are creating. Wander the halls of the Music and Art Center to find displays of current student work, and definitely stop inside the Mac Gallery for current exhibits of artwork by faculty, students, and guest artists. For any questions on this episode or to submit your own idea for the NCWLIFE Magazine, email me, Kaitlin Hetterscheidt at kaitlin@ncwlife.com.